Okay, I'm just gonna go and ring the concho bell. No more knobs, 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 no more knobs. So good morning, everyone. We have quite a crowd here in our temple. There must be over 20 people here, as well as approximately 40 people by Zoom. So welcome everyone to our Shotsuki Memorial Service for September. Four more people joining in. It is a service in which we remember those loved ones who have passed on during this month of September. It's been 2 weeks actually since we had service. I was on my summer holidays, so it's nice to be back with all of you in person as well as online. And I'd like to begin this September Shotsuki service with a period of silent meditation, followed by the recitation of the name of the Buddha or the Onenbutsu. So we'll sit quietly and then recite the numbers afterwards. next we'll have the reading of the homage and Tisarana, or homage and three treasures. And it's up on the screen. If for those of you who want to read it in the text, it's in your purple seiken. It is on page 11 of your purple seiken that you have in your pews. Page 11, right? There is a slight difference on the one that you see on the screen with the one in the text. Instead of where it says, I go to the Buddha for guidance, it's we go to the Buddha for guidance. And also politically correctness change. In the last of the three treasures, it says, may we all with one accord live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness here on the text here, as opposed to in the spirit of brotherhood. So those are a couple of changes that have been made. So for those of you on Zoom, you can see it on your screen. If everyone can just read along afterwards, the three treasures when it says, where it says, repeat it after I repeat it. Okay? Homages, Kyomo. Hard it is to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear them. If we do not gain emancipation in this present life, how may we be free from sorrow in the ocean of births and deaths? Let us fervently take refuge in the three treasures. We go to the Buddha for guidance. May we always walk in the way that leads to enlightenment. Everyone, we go to the Buddha for guidance. May we always walk in the way that leads to enlightenment. We go to the Dharma for guidance. May we be submerged in the depth of the teachings and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. We go to the Dharma for guidance. May we be submerged in the depth of the teachings and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. We go to the Sangha for guidance. May we, with one accord, live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness. Everyone? We go to the Sangha for guidance. May we, with one accord, live the life of harmony in the spirit of oneness, free from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriads of kalpas, hard it is to hear such excellent and profound teachings. Now we are able to hear and receive them. Let us try to understand the Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Next, we will have the sutra chanting. We're going to be chanting what's known as the Sambujo, and I'll bring it up on the screen here. It's on page 89 of the purple seiken. And following the Sambujo, we will be then chanting the Sambutsuge, which you'll find on page 73 of your purple seiken. For those of you who are joining by Zoom, and for those here, during the chanting of the Sambutsuge, instead of the actual words of Sambutsuge, I'm going to be putting up the names of the Shotsuki individuals. And when you see the name of the person you're here to remember, you can just come on up and offer incense at that time. Okay? So again, we'll begin with Sambujo. And then following that, the Sambutsuge, which is on page 73 of your text. And for those of you at home, I have sent out the text in the Zoom invite as well. Namo Nobs, Namo Nobs, Namo Nobs, Namo Nobs, Namo Nobs. remember our loved ones who have passed on during this month of September. We faithfully recite the Nembutu and humbly join our hands in Gasho. May the fragrance of incense teach us the purity of our intentions. May the beauty of the flowers offered remind us of the glory of the Dharma. And may the lights that burn brightly upon the altar lead our thoughts to Amida's eternal light of wisdom and boundless compassion that dispels the darkness of our ignorance. Would you feel okay if I took off my mask to talk? I think we're far enough away. I kept it on during chanting because you're walking in front of me. I didn't want to be breathing on you while I was chanting. But for my talk, if you're okay with it, I'm going to keep my mask off. It's easier for everybody to understand as well. So I'm going to begin by reading a passage from the works of Shinan Shoni. And just with me. So this is a passage actually from a writing, it's called the Tanni Sho, which is the record and lament of divergence. And this was actually written not by Shinran Shoni, but Shinran Shoni is the founder of our particular denomination of Buddhism. So in the altar to the left of the statue of the Buddha, we have the scroll of Shinran Shoni. Okay. And so we generally follow his writings, his commentaries on the Dharma. But this one particular piece called the Tanisho, or A Record and Lament of Divergence, was actually written by one of Shinran's disciples. His name was Yui Embo. And it was written after Shinran had passed away. Over time, there were differing interpretations of the teachings. And so Yui Embo, lamenting all these different factions that were being formed, he wrote this piece. And basically, Yui Embo was the closest disciple to Shinran. And so it's his recollection of conversations that he had with Shinran. And so we look at it as direct quotes of the founder of our denomination. And at the end of this, Shinran says this quote to Yui Embo. He says, "When I consider deeply the vow of Amida, which arose from 5 kalpas of profound thought, I realized that it was entirely for the sake of myself alone. Then how I am filled with gratitude for the primal vow in which Amida resolved to save me, though I am burdened with such heavy karma." No more notes. I'll get back to this quote in a bit, but I wanted to start off my talk today by talking about yesterday, our Fujinkai ladies had a garage sale. And so from Friday, they were here preparing for it. And there was so much stuff, and when I looked at all the stuff that there was, it reminded me actually of a comedy sketch or comedy routine by a comedian by the name of George Carlin. Does anybody know George Carlin? Some of you might remember George Carlin. He's passed away now. He was more prominent, I would say, in the 70s, 80s. He had a very foul mouth, for one thing. So he became famous for some of his comedy routines, like 7 swear words that you can't say on TV. And I'm not going to say those here. It's not appropriate. But he did have one comedy routine. And if you can, nowadays with the internet, you can actually Google him. And he did a whole routine on stuff, okay? And he was talking about how we human beings, we like to collect stuff, right? We like to accumulate stuff. And it has to be my stuff. And we compare my stuff with others. And we think theirs is junk compared to my stuff. And then he went on to say, we fill our houses with stuff. And when it gets too full, we end up renting a locker somewhere to put our stuff so that we can buy more stuff, right? And so if you have the opportunity, Google it. It's a fascinating comedy piece. And it's also a very true commentary on our existence. So when I saw all that stuff yesterday, I realized also that with the building of our Wisteria place, which is just open, many of those who are moving in are downsizing. So a lot of that stuff came from people who were downsizing and donated their stuff to the temple. Now, as a aside to this, so my mother is also moving in to Wisteria at the end of this month. And so she's been doing some downsizing or trying to organize her things. So as a process of this, she's been bringing up stuff and saying, do I want this or do I want that? And it's funny, just as George Carlin says, other people's stuff is not too dear to you. It has to be my stuff, right? So similarly, when my mother says, do you want this? Often it's things that I have no interest in, okay? It's dear to her. And the old Japanese refrain is mottainai, right? So mottainai means how wasteful it is, okay? And so the Japanese, especially the older Japanese Canadians, have been raised in a culture because of the hardships of the war, etc., where they can't throw anything away, right? And so you've seen those TV shows, the hoarders and whatnot. I think many Japanese Canadians have become hoarders because of this feeling of, I can't throw this away. Well, my mother's not a hoarder, but by no means. But she has stuff that she would say, do you want this? And a lot of it, most of it, it's something that I don't need. Okay? Some of it is actually quite, they're valuable stuff. Some of the stuff that she has are things like my father's old books. But I already took a whole collection of my father's books. If anybody has come into my office, you'll notice I have shelves and shelves of books, most of it which I probably will never read, partially because many of it is in very old Japanese. So I can't even read it, some of the stuff. But anyway, she's brought out some more books, and I've already have either copies of it or I have similar books, and I just don't have any more space in my office. So stuff that she brought up, right? So the other day, I was at my mother's place. My sister was here from Burning, helping her to declutter a little bit. And my mom said, I have something else for you to take. And I thought, oh no, more stuff. But she brought this out. Can you see this? It's an old, what do you call it, saddlebag or briefcase, very, very worn, right? And I thought at first, well, it's nice, maybe belongs in the museum, but do I really need an old saddlebag, right? But what it contained was very interesting because inside of it were documents and pictures. And one of the pictures that came out from it was this picture here. You might not be able to see it that well, but this is actually a wedding picture of my grandparents. Okay, so I have no idea how many years ago this would have been, but very, very sentimental and important to our family. Another picture that was in there, a little bit more recent, but this is a wedding picture or a picture that my parents took just after they got married. And this one is actually 1957, okay? So again, value to me. And also some passports of my grandfather, but also this card here, which some of you might recognize. 1941, I think all Japanese Canadians had to get registered. So this is the registry card of my grandfather. So all these documents came out. And of course now this stuff became very personal to me and it became my stuff, right? And why I'm saying all of this to you is that when we come here for the Shotsuki memorial service, it's personal to you because you're here to remember an individual who you love or who was very important to you, right? So when it becomes personal to you, it becomes important. And the quote that I quoted from Shinran Shonin, as he mentions here, he mentions in this passage here, when I consider deeply the vow of Amida, which arose from 5 kalpas of profound thought, I realized it was entirely for the sake of myself alone. You see, for Shinran, the Dharma became personal. He realized that the workings of the Dharma was for him. In a similar sense, through our loved ones, we are guided here. We are brought here to remind ourselves of the oneness of life. We are brought here to come in contact with the infinite, the universe, and represented by what we call Amida Buddha. So when we come here, it is with profound gratitude. Yesterday we had our, what we call our Kids Sangha. We were hoping to start it in person from September, but with the ongoing COVID, we decided to keep it online. But as part of that, I was telling him, we took a break over the summer. And so starting up here again in September, I wanted to sort of teach them the basics. And we started off by showing them this posture, which we call gasho. And I asked the kids names of countries where they think that people might do this gesture, putting hands together. Maybe I'll ask some of the people that are here today. Give me one country where you think that they put their hands together like this.
India.
India, yes. How about over here? Nepal, yes. Anybody from back there? Where else would they put their hands together? Japan? Yes, Japan. Anybody else? Any other guess? Well, some of the kids said China. Yesterday we had the Fraser Valley Buddhist Temple service, and I asked them this, and they said, we do it here in Canada at our temples here, right? So when you think about the number of people that actually put their hands together, it's well more than half the population of the entire earth. So in fact, this is a very common gesture. In fact, Christians also do this when they pray, right? So it's not unique to Buddhism, it's universal, but it is a gesture of respect and appreciation. So in India, the common greeting is namaste. They put their hands together. And namaste means with respect. I respect you. And so when we put our hands together, we're, first of all, in our teachings, we say the left hand represents this world of change, the world that we exist in. The right hand represents the world of the Buddha, the world of our loved ones. And when we put our hands together, we're reminding ourselves of the oneness that we share with that eternity. So as we gather here for the September Shotsuki, to remember our personal contact with the eternity, our loved ones, who through them bring us together in oneness. We express our gratitude by putting our hands together and reciting the name of the Buddha. So at this time again, if I may ask you, please join me in Gasho as we recite the name of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Oh, I guess I don't need this right now. Thank you all for attending. This will conclude the September Shotsuki monthly memorial service. Thank you to those who have come in person. It's very nice to see people here. And of course, thank you to all of you who also joined by Zoom. We will be continuing on with the Zoom services for the foreseeable future. And it's always nice to see all the faces from not only locally, but throughout. So thank you all for attending. Stop the recording.